The great crusade sweeps across the stars like a cleansing fire, uniting scattered worlds beneath the majestic banner of the Emperor. He is our Father, our guiding light, illuminating the darkness. Humanity strains towards a singular future, sculpted by his vision, his sons, the Primarchs, his finest creations, legions of space marines designed to reclaim mankind's birthright. They are demigods walking, living weapons forged in the Emperor's genius, each so perfect, so capable. Battlefields thrill to their arrival. Victory follows like a cosmic shadow, and among these titanic beings, one star burns the brightest, Horus Lupercal. He walks with effortless charisma, equal parts noble leader and warrior poet. His strategic mind is unparalleled, his courage legendary. The Emperor, he sees this brilliance too. He elevates Horus, crowns him Warmaster, master of all crusading fleets, supreme commander beyond doubt. The Emperor's favored son, his truest reflection. We watch, hearts full of awe, as the brightest future imaginable unfolds. Unity achieved, ignorance banished forever by imperial truth. Terra itself calls the master of mankind home, whispering of an ultimate project demanding his complete attention. Horus, shoulders easily bearing the weight of command, steers the crusade towards its inevitable conclusion. He is our ideal, the promise personified. The Imperium has reached its zenith, gleaming, seemingly invincible beneath the Warmaster's hand. Hope sings in every human heart across 10,000 worlds. A golden age dawns, destiny feels written in light. Then comes Davin, that moon, insignificant before, lights the galaxies, so the battle is fierce, sharp, edged, and brutal amidst dense, choking jungle. They fight fanatics, warriors sworn to dark, diseased faiths. Horus, as always, leads from the front, a beacon amidst the carnage. The enemy wields weapons steeped in vileness, blades not just sharpened, but cursed a warlord desperate, driven by unholy fervor, rallies against the inevitable tide of imperial might. He hurls himself at the Warmaster, a shrieking testament to corrupt defiance. In the clash, a moment of hideous imbalance. The curved, serrated blade catches Horus plunging deep into his perfect flesh. It bites unnaturally, a sting far colder and more invasive than mere steel. The warmth drains instantly from his limbs. Pain radiates differently, a greasy, spreading numbness that chills the core more than the wound itself. Darkness crashes over the Warmaster's consciousness. He falls. The son of the Emperor laid low. His elite guard, the majestic Luna wolves, roar their anguish and fury. Panic claws at them, cold and unfamiliar. Their demigod lies broken, poison, death whispering against his skin. Fear, a thing unknown to us, starts, flickers in their hearts. An unnatural darkness has touched their father Primarch. Despair breeds reckless choices. Logic, reason, the imperial truth itself falters against the wrought terror of losing him. His apothecaries, masters of biology and corporeal healing, shake their heads. This malady defies science. Hope extinguishes like a guttered candle. A desperate murmur surfaces, a forbidden idea whispered among the ranks. What about those sorcerer healers mentioned in corrupted planetary reports? What about the old temple, the looming structure, glimpsed from orbit, radiating ancient wrongness, a scar on the moon's face dedicated to forces best left unimagined? It draws whispers like flies to carrion. His most loyal sons, hearts choked with agonized devotion, refuse the silence of death. They defy protocols, the Emperor's word itself, anything to save him, anything. They lay their Warmaster's body upon a crude stretcher forged from battlefield salvage. They carry him, their precious cargo of fading light, away from the mechanized purity of their fleet medical bays, towards darkness, towards the chaotic temple. Ancient stone, slick with unseen slime, groans underfoot, air thickens with cloying incense, and the iron tang of stale blood millennia old. Grotesque carvings leer from shadowed alcoves, depicting horrors beyond comprehension. Altars crusted with biological decay pulse with a faint, vile light. It resonates with the poison inside Horus. Rituals commence, not science, but dark invocations, guttural chants in tongues layered with menace. The air vibrates unnaturally, shadows twist, elongating like grasping limbs. Horus lies limp upon a blasphemous altar, less stone than solidified filth. Figures cloaked in decay and madness move around him, their movements jerky, rehearsed for aeons. They pour unguents made from unthinkable substances onto the festering wound. The dagger's work begins to unravel, reversed by powers best left untouched. The unnatural frost thawing in his veins carries an acrid psychic scent. Life returns, terrifyingly strong, flooding Horus's immense frame. His eyes snap open, but where gold once shone with intelligence and command, a harder, flatter light emerges. Flickering darkness swims beneath the surface. He awakens gasping, not from weakness, but from a terrifying influx of awareness. Vitality surges, shockingly potent, yet tainted. Alien currents course beneath his skin, vibrant and sickeningly strong. He rises, the sickness purge, the fatal wound miraculously close. His sons weep tears of relief, a boundless joy. They see only the returned warmth aster, restored. They do not see the shadow lodging deep within his soul, the poison far more insidious than blade venom. It is there, lodged tight, pulsing within the center of his being. Silence descends that first night, not peaceful rest, but a heavy, waiting quiet. Then they come. Unseen presences gather around his consciousness as he lies on his command cot, the familiar stars viewed through a viewport seeming suddenly distant. Cold, they introduce themselves not with names, but with sensations. An icy, grasping intellect promising forbidden knowledge and intricate mastery. Red-tinted fury promising boundless power to reshape reality. Fertile, excessive decay promising obscene resilience and fecund strength, and the laughter, oh, the awful laughter, promising mutable freedom that borders on ultimate chaos. Whispers slither through his mind. Horus, beloved, favored son, we know you, we see you, we saved you. Where was your father? Where was the Emperor when death gnawed at your magnificent core? He abandoned you to die. Lies. They offer validation, confirmation of deep-buried doubts nurtured over decades of conquest. They stroke the raw wound of abandonment. Horus, what end awaits you and your brothers? See the Emperor's secret heart. Visions engulf him, overwhelming. Hyperreal, he stands on Terra, but not the shining beacon he knows. Before him unfolds a nightmare future. Gleaming adamantium, cathedrals scrape a blood-red sky. Billions kneel amid choking incense fumes, not in unity, but groveling submission. golden icons depicting not the ideals of mankind, but the emperor, the very man, elevated, worshipped as a god, anathema, imperial true, shattered entirely, replaced by suffocating, blind faith. A rotting corpse sits motionless on the golden throne, yet pilgrims worship it. The hypocrisy burns worse than any wound. And his brothers, his sons, the legionaries, gone, discarded, forgotten relics, pushed aside by ordinary men swathed in crimson robes, priests, wielding authority based on superstition, the space marines, masters of war, relegated to shadows, their purpose bled away. You and your glorious brothers, Horus, become mere tools, then embarrassments, outdated relics, weapons left to rust in an armory, and brighter, crueler knives emerge. This is your father's secret dream, the purpose he hides. This is why he ran back to Terra. The whispers intensified, a symphony of damnation playing directly in his soul. They exploit the hurt he tightly locks down, abandoned mid-glory. They inflame it, the immense, justifiable pride that fuels his every thought. To be replaced, superseded, discarded by the very father who forged him. The fear and welcome and unspoken blooms, the fear of obsolescence, the terror of insignificance, the gut-wrenching suspicion that his entire purpose might be meaningless. Each vision cuts deeper, peeling layers of loyalty. The whispers become thoughts that feel like his own. Were the great deeds of the legions merely paving stones for an endless faith, fuel tyranny? Could the emperor truly sanction such idolatry? The perfectionist pride that drives Horus curdles into brooding resentment. Every compromise, every impossible demand placed upon him by the absent emperor fuels bitterness. The crushing responsibility of the Warmaster title feels less an honor, more a sign he was used, exploited for ends he never truly understood. Lemon Russ's bluntness becomes barbaric threat. Roboute Gilliman's Fisher to empire building feels like usurpation, Fulgrim's vanity, a challenge. Magnus's esoteric studies, potential betrayal. He was more than Warmaster. He was the truest son, the perfect executor. But to the emperor, merely a servant, an expendable general. How long until he needed a different tool? The vision of the god emperor, rotting yet worship, revolts him. This future, they show, is set, preordained by his lives, unless someone stops it. The emperor revealed as architect of this cosmic betrayal, not a benevolent guy, but the ultimate tyrant building a galactic prison of fanaticism over mankind's true potential. What was a wound transforms into a rending of cosmic scale. Hope is the poison now, hatred boils. A choice crystallizes, sharp as the cursed blade that brought him low. Power surges from the shadows where the voices reside. An imaginable power. It promises broken shackles. It promises true conquest, not for a distant imperial dream, but for his rightful primogeniture, his warrior sons whom the emperor would throw aside. Horus Lupercal chooses. He embraces the shadow willingly, desperately. He reaches out his hand, the hand that once saluted the Aquila, the hand that wielded loyalty like a shield. He clutches the offered power, feeling its seductive chaos surge through him. The darkness finds its perfect vessel. The Warmaster turns away from the light. Heresy is born. Remember that golden age, when the stars themselves seem to bow before us. The Great Crusade, it wasn't just war. It was a tide of light, washing across the darkness. Humanity, scattered and broken for millennia, finally reaching out, finding each other, uniting, and at the spear tip, the Legiones starts, gods of war made flesh, titans clad in ceramite and conviction. They were unstoppable, unbreakable, conquerors forging an imperium from blood and brotherhood. Worlds burned, yes, but only the darkness, only the ignorance. They brought order, they brought truth. They brought us together, and leading them, Horus Lupercal Warmaster, not just a title, it was hope. He was the crusade, the Emperor's own hand extended across the void. We saw him stride amongst his brothers, the Primarchs, and he shone, not just strength, but wisdom, charisma that could bind stars. He understood the legions, the mortal soldiers, the administratum scribes. He saw the whole asterisk. He was the embodiment of what we were building: fraternity, unity, a future written in starlight. We trusted him, we loved him, he was the best of us. The Emperor's favored son, his pride, then, Terra. The Emperor withdrew, he returned to the throne world secrets. Projects whispered about in hushed tones, something ultimate, something requiring his full attention. He entrusted everything to Horus, the final stages of the crusade, the dream itself, laid in Horus's hands. We didn't question it. How could we? The Imperium stood at its zenith, a colossus astride the galaxy. The future wasn't just bright, it was blinding. We were winning asterisk. We were unstoppable. We were home. Then came Davin, that cursed moon, a poisoned thorn in the galaxy's sigh. Horus fell, not in glorious combat against some Xenos horror, but struck down by a blade steeped in ancient malice. Something wrong. His life bled out onto that filthy ground. His sons, desperate, terrified, they did the unthinkable. They took him to that temple, that place that reeked of old, hungry shadows. They sought healing and found corruption. He lived. His body knit itself back together, but something else seeped in. A venom deep, invisible, settling in his soul like rot in the heartwood. That's when the whispers began, not from the void, from within it, from things that coiled in the spaces between stars. The dark gods, they found the cracks the poison made. They poured their lies into him, visions, oh, the visions they showed him. A future where the Emperor sat enthroned, not as a man, but as a god worshipped, adored. A future where the Primarchs, his brothers, were relics, cast aside, forgotten. Where the Legiones starts, the very instruments of victory, were discarded like broken tools. They knew him, those whispers. They knew his pride, the pride in his father's trust, the pride in his legion's glory. They knew his deepest unspoken fear, obsolescence. They twisted his love for the Emperor into suspicion, into resentment. They showed him a tyrant, not a father, a liar, not a guy. And Horus believed he chose. He reached out into that darkness and grasped the power they offered. Not salvation, damnation, the Warmaster, beloved Horus Lupercal. He turned his face from the light, he embraced the shadow. He betrayed his father, he betrayed The galaxy didn't burn slowly, it exploded. The betrayal wasn't whispered, it was screened across the void in fire and virus. Istvan III, Horus's own sons, loyal sons, trusting sons, stationed there. He called them rebels, traitors. He unleashed death upon them, virus bombs, life eaters, raining down on Astartes who still wore his colors, who still fought under his banner. They choked on their own liquefied lungs in the ruins of a city they conquered asterisk for him asterisk. It was a purge, a cleansing of doubt, a baptism in fratricide. Then, Istvan v worse, so much worse, he called loyal legions, brothers he had fought beside for centuries, to muster. He promised them answers, he promised them unity against this new, terrible threat. They came trusting, expecting brotherhood, expecting Horus. They walked on to the killing field, and the trap snapped shut. Traitor legions hidden, waiting. Their brothers, their own kin, they opened fire from orbit. From the ground, betrayal from every angle. It wasn't war, it was slaughter, a massacre carved into the bedrock of history. Legions shattered, trust annihilated, the galaxy fractured along the lines of brotherhood turned to hatred. Civil war erupted, not against Xenos, not against the darkness, but against ourselves. Brother against brother, legion against legion. The very foundation of the Imperium cracked open and bleeding. It led, inevitably, to Terra, to the throne world itself. The traitor legions, swollen with demonic power, drunk on hatred, laid siege. The imperial palace, that symbol of unity, became a charnel house, a fortress under endless assault. Millions die, billions, the sky burn, the earth screamed, years of grinding, brutal warfare. The heart of humanity under the boot of its own corrupted sons. The emperor, finally roused from his secret labors, walked into the storm. It ended aboard the asterisk, vengeful spirit asterisk, Horus's flagship, a tomb in the void. The emperor confronted his fallen son, his favored son, his warmaster. What passed between them, the words, the blows, only they know. But the cost, oh, the cost. Horus, empowered by gods of ruin, shattered the emperor, broke him, left him a shattered, barely living relic, and the emperor, in that final, desperate moment, unleashed his full, annihilating power, not just to kill Horus, but to scour his very soul from existence. Mutual destruction, the emperor entombed forever on the golden throne. Horus, and made erased, and what did we win? What did we salvage from the ashes? A broken imperium, shattered by the very hands that built it. The dream of enlightenment, dead, replaced by superstition, fear, and the desperate worship of a dying god-king. The brotherhood of the legions, shattered forever, replaced by suspicion and the suffocating grip of the Inquisition. Stagnation became our creed, paranoia our shield. The galaxy is darker now, forever scarred. We live in the shadow of that betrayal. The golden zenith is dust, the promise broken. All that remains is the echo of brother killing brother, and the slow, grinding decay of a dream poisoned at its source. The tragedy wasn't just Horus's fall. It was the fall of everything, and we're still falling forever. JSON parser network error. Expecting value. Line for 165, column 1, char 2550. To listen close now. Let me tell you about the Emperor's sons, those towering giants forged for war and glory. Their falls weren't simple things, you see. They were slow poisonings, each drop tailored to the cracks already there in their magnificent souls. Horus, oh, Horus, Warmaster, favored above all. But that ambition, that need to be the chosen one, it curdled inside him. He saw the Emperor retreat to Terra, whispering secrets to Malcador, leaving him to finish the bloody work. Was he truly trusted or just a tool? That doubt, that knowing resentment, it found fertile ground. He felt replaced before he was even gone. Then there was Fulgrim, perfection made flesh, obsessed with beauty, with the sublime. That lyre blade, it sang to him, didn't it? A siren song wrapped in gleaming metal. It promised heights of sensation, artistry beyond mortal comprehension. How could he resist? His vanity, that desperate hunger for something more than conquest, opened the door. Slaanesh slipped through that crack, a serpent coiling around his heart, whispering that pleasure and pain were the same exquisite coin. He embraced the decadence, thinking it elevation, not realizing the fall until he was plummeting. And Lorgar, his flaw was his faith, burning brighter than any sun. He needed to worship, to kneel before divinity. The Emperor shattered that monarchia, razed to ash. His faith declared a sickness. The humiliation was absolute. Where does such fervor go when its object rejects it? Not into silence, into rage, into a desperate search for gods who wanted his devotion. The whispers from the warp, they felt like vindication. Gods who demanded prayer, who promised power in return for loyalty. He traded one altar for another, blind to the blood dripping from its edges. His zealotry, twisted, became the foundation of the heresy. The galaxy tore itself apart then, brother against brother. Such terrible choices forced upon them, Angron. His soul was already broken on Nuceria. The Emperor didn't save his brothers, his true family. He ripped Angron away, leaving them to die. That betrayal festered. What was loyalty to an uncaring master? Only pain. Khorne offered an outlet, a way to drown the agony and endless, mindless slaughter. Embrace the rage, the nails screamed. Embrace the blood, God, he did. His nihilism became a weapon, a reason to destroy everything, including himself, Magnus. His tragedy was woven from good intentions and towering arrogance. He he was right. He had to warn the Emperor about Horus, break through the wards shielding Terra, the cost shattering the Emperor's great work, unleashing demons into the heart of the Imperial Palace. His hubris, believing only he could act, damned him. The Emperor's fury, the desperate battle on Prospero, it pushed Magnus, broken and betrayed, into the arms of Tzeentch, the architect of his downfall. The very knowledge he sought became his cage, but not all fell. Some stood firm, their loyalty tempered in the crucible. Jagatai Khan, he listened. He weighed Horus's words against the Emperor's silence. He saw the lies woven into the Warmaster's rebellion, the rot beneath the promises. Speed wasn't just about the blade. It was about thought, deliberation. He chose Terra. He chose the Imperium he believed could still be saved, even fractured. His choice was a cold, clear cut through the fog of war. And the heroes, they shone like desperate stars in the encroaching dark. Rogaldorn, the Praetorian, Terra became his fortress, his burden. He knew the defenses might fail, knew the cost would be unimaginable, Yet he built stone by stone, trench by trench. His resolve was the bedrock the Imperium stood upon when everything else crumbled, unyielding, unbreakable. Duty etched into his very bones, sanguineous. The angel, hope made manifest, yet bearing the weight of a terrible foresight. He knew his fate awaited him at the eternity gate. Knew Horus demanded his broken body as the toll, and still he stood. Wings spread against the tide of hell, he fought, not for victory, but for time. Every second bought with his blood, his defiance a beacon that held back the despair threatening to consume humanity. His sacrifice wasn't just death. It was a testament that some lights refused to be extinguished. Vulcan, the unbroken. His strength wasn't just in his hammer, but in his spirit. Captured, tortured, broken again and again by the cruelest of his brothers, he endured because his duty was eternal. To protect, to stand as the shield, he was the embodiment of resilience, proof that even fire cannot destroy true purpose. He rose each time, reforged and ready. The Imperium's unbreakable shield after the fires died. The scars remained deep, ugly, the traitors. Horus, Fulgrim, Angron, Magnus, Lorgar. They fled, didn't they, into the hell they embraced. The Eye of Terror, twisted into demon princes, bound forever to the dark gods they served. Their humanity sacrificed on altars of power and spite. Eternal monsters in a poisoned galaxy, and Gilliman, the avenging sun. He looked upon the ruins and saw the flaw. The legions were too powerful, too vulnerable to another Horus. His burden was to rebuild, to prevent the next fall. The Codex starts a book of laws, tactics, limitations, shattering the legions into chapters. Some called it wisdom, others a shackle, but it was born from the ashes, a desperate attempt to ensure survival, even if it meant sacrificing the old ways and always the whispers. The missing, the second, the 11th legion struck from history, their primarchs gone. Were they destroy, failed, something worse? The Emperor's silence on them is a void, a chilling mystery that hangs over the Imperium, a reminder that even among gods and demigods, some falls are too terrible to name. Their legacies are ghosts haunting the edges of memory, a warning etched in absence. The galaxy remembers the blood, the betrayal, the sacrifice, and the shadows where answers refuse to dwell. Look closer now. See the grand design, the infant brothers scattered. We did that, the storm you call warp, our playground. Tossed those shining prizes, those primarchs to be, onto bitter, scarred worlds. We placed them into crucibles already burning. We shaped the anvils upon which their souls would be beaten. Angron's blood-soaked pits, Mortarian's poisonous mists, Lorgar's crushing delusions. Each landing site, sown like corrupted seed. The trauma took root long before the Emperor found them, that deep fracture. Ours, the rot spread quietly while the crusade roared. While warriors celebrated victories, we whispered behind the banners. Our faithful, the word-bearers, served us well, so earnest in their false devotion. They walked the newly conquered worlds, seeding faith not in the Emperor, but in doubt, into the nascent imperial cults. Beneath the words of compliance, they wove threads of deeper hunger, whispers of older powers, promises unspoken but felt. Disillusionment was our crop, reaped patiently. Astartes felt it, mortals drowned in it. Where noble purpose soured, where pride festered unspoken, where ambition burned to hot. There we offered solace, a pact in the dark. Our servants found the cracks, the hollow men, promising strength where weakness gnawed. Power for a price freely given, the warp entities stirred, feeling the psychic shift. Demons offered gifts to the already wounded, the ambitious, the scared. Power felt to good, didn't it? Just a lift over a rival. Just a glimpse of forbidden truth, just the grim certainty to survive another hellish campaign. We opened our arms to the broken angels, welcoming them home to damnation. Ah, Magnus the Red, so brilliant, the thirst for hidden lore consumed him. Tzeentch savored that hunger. He weaved the board for the Crimson King. Secrets dripped like poison honey, each one eroding imperial edict. That grand summoning, oh yes, a desperate ploy to warn the Emperor, driven by visions we twisted. He thought he fought destiny. He walked headlong into our web, shattering his father's warding. Broke the great work. The path to damnation is paved with pure intentions. His fall tasted exquisite, the death guard, stoic, enduring. Nurgle adored their resilience, plied them with despair. That forever war in the warp's stinking bowel, their ships becalmed in tides thick with impossible decay. Grandfathers embraced Titan, they held shields locked, entering the filth eating their flesh, their machines. Endured the whispers that this wasn't a trial but a revelation. This was existence, this fug, this crawling dissolution, this truth of mortal rot. Surrender felt like peace in that endless haze. Plague conquers not just bodies, but hope. They embraced the gift, ragged breaths turned to grateful sighs. Their entrance rebranded resignation unto the Grandfather. At the world eaters, their souls were already flayed. The butcher's nails hummed corn's lullaby, we amplified it. Loyal son Angron raged against the Emperor's theft of his glorious death on Nuceria. Perfect, the nails sang louder. The battlefield became a red haze demanding blood, tactics, strategy, blasphemy. Only the red heat of slaughter counted. We nudged, amplified. Every restraint snapped became a victory, every atrocity consecrated. The pursuit of victory became the thirst for skulls. Honor died in the roar. They weren't just warriors any longer, they were Khorne's prayer, screamed aloud. Look at what our machinations bore. Angron ascended, tore himself from mortal shackles, a demon of pure, boyish petulance and rage screaming for blood. Mortarion, obliterating all memory of Barbarus's tyrant. Feudal, he became the king of that filth, spreading those ancient plagues anew, a cosmic hypocrite. Their legions followed, willingly possessed or forcibly reborn. Not just soldiers, avatars, our legions unleashed. Titans not of steel, but flesh and malice. Clawed horrors birthed from screaming souls. Grinding Terra, the siege wasn't just armies clashing. It was our realm, clawing its way into the heart of the false Emperor's dream. The ruined storm crackled across real space, shredding the Astronomican's light. Terra became a lonely candle, drowning in the tempest. We summon, isolated, terrify, perfect Horus Lupercal. Oh, favored son, our brightest plaything, we wove dreams of usurpation and fit jealousy into primal terror. We painted the Emperor as a distant god to be, discarding his tools after the conquest. Horus saw his father discard him, his brothers, his Astartes. His pride burned with our fuel. His love curdled. served back to him as bitter prophecy. He made the pact willingly, gave himself for power to save his father's dream poetic. His Warmaster's war brought us everything we wanted. Terra besieged, the Imperium tearing its own throat out. He served marvelously, but pawns are discarded when they break. When the Emperor stood before him on the asterisk, vengeful spirit asterisk, broken yet indomitable, Horus recoiled. We saw the flicker of the sun, the doubt. The tool was no longer needed. Our hold compelled him to strike the crippling blow, shattering the Emperor's form onto the throne. Even as he weakened, why sustain him? Heat delivered the wound. We released our grip. Let the loyal wolves finish him, a symbolic end. The traitors fled to the Eye of Terror. The Imperium calls them defeated. How naive. We gifted them a sanctuary built in our own image. A festering wound in reality, preserved like a poisoned dagger. Their corruption continues to seep outwards forever. Where humanity treads, despair blooms, brutality festers, ambition twists towards blasphemy, secrets lead to madness. Chaos cults mushroom in the shadow of an Imperium choked by its own bureaucracy and dread. The heresy wasn't the end, it was the incubation. The rot is permanent, woven into the gaudy, decaying tapestry of the Imperium. We are their shadow, we are their inheritance. We are eternal, the long war, it truly never ended. It's the background, static to every imperial hymn, the fear in every closed door, the rot in every foundation stone. That is the victory, be carved from ruin. That is chaos undivided. Some believed compliance was easy. You obey orders, you trust your brothers. The Great Crusade taught us that. Then came Istvan III. You have to understand the sickness spreading within the ranks of the Luna Wolves. We felt it, our Luna Wolves, corroding brotherhood. Garviel Loken. He saw the rot first. He questioned the whispers, the doubts our fathers seeded against the Emperor. When the virus bombing began, raining death on brothers who wouldn't bend the knee to the new heresy, Loken fought. Not for orders, for truth, scraping through the ruins, lungs burning from the poison fog. He clawed his way to life. He became a spark in the dark. The Knight Serrat, scattered souls loyal only to the throne, began with him and Malcador, hidden blades against the Warmaster. Istvan V broke the legions, it shattered us. Not just legions crushed beneath betrayal, it was the shattering of trust. Of identities, sons burned in atomic fire, brothers cut down by brothers. For some loyalists, death was quick, merciful. The survivors, they were the damned. The shattered legends, they called the remnants iron hands. Crippled but furious, ravens guard flitting through shadows. Salamanders burning bright with vengeance. You can imagine them, alone, hunted, lost in the enemy galaxy Horus carved. They didn't form ranks. They didn't take worlds. They fought as ghosts, striking supply lines, poisoning fuel depots, sabotaging war machines in the dead of night. They hadn't thousands, they had a handful. And every blast, every ambush, bought Terra precious days, hours, a hidden war of attrition waged by ghosts. He stood on the walls long before the siege truly began, like a statue cast from iron. Sigismund of the imperial fists never turned his eyes from the approaching storm. When the traitor fleets choked the void, when the first bombardments shook the foundations of the palace, he stood ready. His blade, black sword, thirsty, He became our champion, our blade against their darkest nights. Did he see hope or vengeance? Maybe only duty. Great warriors ascended the walls, champions of the world eaters. Howling Karn, Lupercal's chosen. Sigismund met them all, each duel a thunderclap, each fallen traitor a marker of defiance before the walls could be breached. He knew there was no winning, only surviving, only killing one more foe than you lost. The galaxy wept blood, tearing itself apart. The legions fought titans, yet heroes weren't only giants in ceramite. They walked among us, always have, like Alanius Bias, just a soldier, an old soul with older memories. He marched through history longer than the Imperium existed. He felt the murmur of destiny dragging him towards Terra, towards the darkest throne room. He carried something, not a bolter, maybe just an old blade, unshakable faith, more potent than any gene seed. Imagine the courage of the baseline human. Stand shoulder to shoulder, laskin slick in your palm, smell the ozone and blood envoy cold steel. Before you, giants 8 feet tall, clad in cursed warplate, engines roaring with demonic fury, symbols of gods you cannot comprehend, defacing their armor, death incarnate. Entire regiments stood, held, died to the last rather than yield their section of trench, their gun emplacement. They didn't break legions, they bought seconds. They made the solar auxilia a legend, every Laskin blast a pinprick, every dead trooper inconsequential, not to the man next to him, not to the line that held because he held. Even the forged worlds burned red with treachery, but silent believers lurked in the depths, in the oily dark beneath grand traitor engines, loyalist tech. Priests prayed binary oaths. They didn't march on the enemy, they sabotaged. Subtle code fragments, a sacred ritual deferred, a scrapka trap inserted at the birth of a war machine. A titan might lurch, its plasma core singing a dangerous hymn to the Omnissiah instead of the traitor masters, scooping its own kind in a fiery embrace. A starship's engines might fracture a vital microsecond before warp translation. Small slivers of failure, each one a death sentence for the saboteur. Performed without recognition, only faith mattered. Back in the light of remembered betrayal, across the galaxy, a brotherhood held the line differently. The Magyar Mason, white scars, fast as the desert wind cut off. Some thought Jagat Icon might favor Horus's ambition, his rage. The storm seers watched his heart. When treachery was laid bare, his fury became a clean, bright blade. Cornered at the Lion's Gate spaceport, the Red Corsairs believed the only fate was to ground them after the siege. Jagat Khan saw freedom shattering the blockade. Impossible. He didn't shatter it. He tore through it. Like lightning splitting rotten wood, his war hawks rode the void, blades singing, cut off the traitor fleet, slaughtered them above Terra. The walls remained unbroken, thanks to Mongol fury unconstrained. Dutiful Sanguinius, angel of Baal, he fought everywhere, like hope given wings, but his sons held their own lines. The Delphic battlement, cornerstone of the northern defenses, how must it feel? World eaters screaming their hate bubble in corroded voxcasters, battle hymns corrupted to war screams. They hit the wall like a blood tie. Layer after layer of defense fell, and the blood angels, they rebuilt them just as fast. Walderon, his crystal trophies, stark symbols of hope amidst despair. They met berserk fury with cold discipline. Spear counter-thrust, shock attack repulsed, held firm against chainsaw-wielding monsters until the entire trench filled with the defeated dead. Brotherhood allowed neither fear nor retreat. Robot Gilliman moved. Gathering 13 legions was like dragging mountains through space, chaos in their way. Rux, his brothers, broken worlds, twisted demon worlds, time itself conspired to delay him, yet they built his strategy room, a mind forged of cold logic and piecemeal hope. Can we get there in time? Not a question he could answer. He built the strategic reserve that would rebuild the Imperium. Thinking of distant Terra burning the webway, candles flickering in the deepest dark, the Emperor knew things we couldn't fathom. Its breach that was Terra's greatest wound. Not a physical siege, but a flood of purest madness forced through reality's crack. Who guarded it? Only a handful golden custodies. Immortal perfection of arms. Alongside the silence, sisters of silence, whose gaze could drown a planet in horror. Now the bulwark against psychotically mind-shattering infinity. How many demons die? Tens of thousands. Did you ever see a custod truly flag? They never yielded. Every charge down that impossible corridor was bought in blood. Gold armor run red-black, holding the line against hell itself. The throne was failing, that protection faltering. Terra's shield cracked too, without the Emperor's mind to hold the seal. Demons spill through like sewage through a cracked pipe, consume the palace from the foundation, kill every soul on Terra. Humanity dies screaming. Horus on the vengeful spirit, he feels victory. He is a blinding vortex of malevolent power. The Emperor saw the awful, perfect trap, a lure to finish it. He knew what it cost, his soul, humanity's soul. The price was his very life, the agony. On the golden throne he went, leaving Terra mortal, walking away from his greatest work. He didn't walk to victory. He walked to the gamble that kept humanity breathing another day. The spear strike, the exchange of soul force, erased Horus, scourging that corrupted soul from existence, at the cost of the Emperor's blood, pulse, and ability to ever rise again. Only a shattered corpse Emperor imprisoning horrors on a mechanized throne for eternity. Mercy for imperial martyrs came from killing the Imperium's hopeful future. So the fire burned out, victory, not how we imagined it when the crusade held the galaxy in its grip. 10,000 years later, we build on ash. Institutions forged by Macador, Dorn, Gilliman. The Inquisition roots out rebels and traitors born of the same era. The Codex Astartes fragmented the legions, weakened them, prevented another Horus. The imperial cult worships the god emperor trap on his burning throne. Martyr, not tyrant. The sacrifice molded everything, it guides everything. Loken's despair bore an organization to watch eternally for betrayal. Sigismund's defiance became the Black Templars, forever crusading against the traitors his master foresaw would never cease. Every soldier, every baseline human holding the trench, they became faith, the legions fractured. Chapters strengths impose discipline through weakness, fail to spread to thin, sieges of Vrax, Armageddons, guarded by combined factions, fail it, orphan sacrifices. But the nature of glory changed. The glory was surviving. Hardship endured. The Imperium honored. Guluiman returned to stagnation. Despair? broken legacies, his resentment echoes in every failure. But he built the vast bureaucracy to preserve humanity, bleak entrance, or a grotesque monument to a shared sacrifice so profound it twisted the future. Only one truth remains. They were loyal to a man, to a cause, to a glimpse of unification snatched from cosmic horror at the cost of everything. Ancient all probably knew his sacrifice wasn't the point. Giving the Emperor, forget it. We are that sacrifice, lived every day, bleak, noble, heroic, corrupted. The question haunts still, because you hold that torch. You are the foundation, the legacy is yours, and it is so terribly heavy. Remember the weight, honored sacrifice crushed into a necessity, or grim resolve to persist. What lights your path? Loyalty always begins and ends in darkness. Only you fight in silence. Remember them, they fought for a future. That became the Imperium. The galaxy burned bright with conquest. Humanity united, forged by the Emperor's rule. His sons, the Primarchs, led legions of superhuman warriors, the Astartes. They were the bearers of imperial truth, the crusaders of enlightenment. But darkness festered beneath that light. Some paths turned away from the Emperor's dream, twisting into damnation. Lorgar Aurelian, Primarch of the Word-Bearers, craved truth deeper than cold reason. He saw divinity, a force worthy of worship. He built temples, wrote scriptures, poured his legion's soul into faith, and the Emperor punished him for it. Monarchia burned. That humiliation seared Lorgar's heart. His quest didn't die, it twisted. He sought gods who wanted worship, who answered prayers. In the dark places between stars he found them, chaos. He embraced their whispers, their promises. The word-bearers became the first heretics, turning their zeal from the Emperor to the ruinous powers. Faith became fanaticism, devotion became damnation. Fulgrim of the Emperor's children sought perfection, beauty, sensation, excellence in all things. It started noble, pure, but the pursuit became an obsession, a hunger that could never be sated. Every victory felt hollow, every sensation dull, too quickly. They needed more, louder music, sharper pain, stranger pleasures. Excess became their creed. On a forgotten world, Fulgrim found a blade. Beautiful and deadly, it spoke to him, promising heights of ecstasy he'd never imagined. That voice wasn't just the sword. It was a demon coiled within the metal, feeding on his pride and hunger. Slowly, insidiously, it consumed him. Fulgrim's glorious form became a prison, his perfect mind a battleground. The demon won. It wore his face, used his voice, and led his legion deeper into the sensory abyss. Perfection became perversion. Mortarion, stoic lord of the death guard, endured. He despised weakness, hated sorcery, fought poison with resilience. His legion mirrored him, unyielding, surviving horrors that broke others, but the warp is a cruel sea. Trapped within its sickening tides, the Death Guard fleet was engulfed by a plague beyond imagining. Flesh rotted, minds unraveled, strength bled away. Mortarion fought it, tooth and nail, refusing to yield. He endured agony no mortal could comprehend. But the plague god Nurgle watched, amused. He offered a pact. Surrender, embrace the decay, and the suffering would end. Your sons would live, forever changed, but alive. Mortarion's entrance met its limit, his hatred for the Emperor, his despair at failing his legion, his sheer exhaustion. They broke him, he accepted, the pain ceased, replaced by numb, eternal rot. Resilience became resignation, survival became stagnation. War became worship for Angron and his world eaters. Butchery was their sacrament, the butcher's nails. Crude implants hammered into their brains screamed for blood. Angron raged against them, against the universe that had broken him. Khorne, the blood god, heard that rage, he fed it. The nails bit deeper, harder, driving sanity into the dirt. Battle cries became bestial roars. Tactics dissolved into frenzied charges. Glory was measured in skulls piled high. Khorne's influence eroded their minds, replacing brotherhood with bloodlust, honor with slaughter. They weren't warriors anymore, they were weapons, screaming engines of destruction fueled by pain and endless anger. Sanity became slaughter. Terror was the only language Conrad Kurz and his Night Lords understood. Justice was a flayed corpse, order a city screaming in fear. Kurz saw the future, the Imperium's inevitable decay, the Emperor's hypocrisy, his own monstrous end. His visions were chains binding him to nihilism. Why strive for light when darkness always wins? Why show mercy when cruelty is the only truth? His legion became his nightmare made manifest. They didn't just kill, they made examples, flaying, impalement, broadcast torture. Fear was their weapon, their armor, their purpose. Kurzi's dark visions justified every atrocity. Hope became horror, law became lacerated flesh. Didymus choked Perturabo, primarch of the Iron Warriors. He saw his genius ignored, his legion used as fodder, thrown against the grimmest sieges, while others claimed glory. Every slight, every demand, every thankless grind etched itself onto his soul. He built wonders only to see them destroyed in war. He gave his all and received only more burdens that bitterness curdled into cold fury. His legion reflected it. Warfare became an equation of maximum suffering and minimal waste. Sieges were meat grinders, relentless and brutal. Fortresses weren't just taken. They were obliterated, along with everyone inside. Civilians, collateral damage, surrender, pointless. Perturbo's genius became a tool for calculated, grinding annihilation. Grudges became genocide. The betrayal burned across the stars, the heresy raged, and the powers demanded their due, reshaping their chosen champions. Fulgrim's possession was complete, but the demon sought apotheosis. Slaanesh, the prince of excess, claimed him. His mortal form couldn't contain the ecstatic agony, a divine sensation. It burst. Scales erupted, limbs multiplied, his torso elongated into a sinuous, serpentine call. Duty warped into impossible, terrifying allure. Pain and pleasure fused into a single, shattering sensation. Fulgrim ascended, shedding humanity entirely, becoming a demon primarch, a monstrous embodiment of Slaanesh's endless hunger. Sensation became serpent, madness the red. Once the Crimson King sought knowledge to save his father, shattering the Emperor's great work in the process. Broken, desperate, he bargained with Tzeentch, the changer of ways. The price was his very being. Tzeentch shattered Magnus, breaking his soul and body. Then, with cruel artistry, the god rebuilt him, flesh fused with warp stuff. His single eye blazed with impossible power. His form became a cyclopean giant of living crystal and raw magic. Knowledge became mutation. Understanding became endless, labyrinthine schemes. Magnus was remade a demon primarch of Tzeentch, forever chasing secrets that only deepened his despair. Horus Lupercal, Warmaster, favored son, architect of the heresy, as the siege of Terra reached its climax, he needed ultimate power to break the palace walls, to kill his father. All for gods answered, pouring their essence into him. It was too much. Mortal flesh couldn't contain such concentrated chaos. Horus bloated, mutated, his armor straining over warp spawn growths. Eyes blinked on his skin, extra limbs writhed, the very air screamed around him. He became an abomination, a vessel of pure, undivided ruin. The Warmaster was gone, replaced by a cosmic horror fueled by divine hatred. Ambition became annihilation. The siege failed. Horus fell. The Emperor was entombed. But the long war didn't end. It merely changed shape. Abaddon, Horus's most fearsome captain, refused to accept defeat. He saw the bickering, fractured traitor legions, weakened by infighting. He saw the failure of Horus's divided patronage. Gathering the remnants, the bitter, the lost, he forged a new legion, the Black Legion. He took Horus's mantle, not as Warmaster, but as Warmaster's heir. Abaddon offered unity under a single banner, vengeance. He became the despoiler, the architect of black crusades, uniting traitors, not through love, but through shared hatred and the promise of conquest. Failure became foundation. The traitor legions retreated, shattered but not destroyed, into the roiling hellscape of the Eye of Terror. Time meant nothing there. Terra became a distant, hated memory. They became raiders, predators emerging from the warp storms to ravage the Imperium they once built. Warbands form, led by champions, demon princes, or bitter veterans. The long war became 1,000 raiding actions, dark crusades, and desperate battles across 10,000 years. Defeat became endurance. The legions evolved. Some embraced their patrons fully. The world eaters became pure vessels of cornate rage, lost to the nails, seeking only blood and skulls. The Emperor's children drowned in Slaaneash's sensory ocean. Their war cries mingled with screams of pleasure-pain. The Death Guard spread Nurgle's joyous gifts, bloated and resilient, walking plagues. The 1,000 Suns delved deeper into Tzeentch's labyrinth, sorcerers bound by fate and mutation. Worship became warfare, corruption became culture. So the galaxy burns, still the traitor legions endure. Damnation wasn't an end, but a transformation. They are the shadows cast by the Emperor's light, the eternal animate, forged in betrayal, sustained by hatred, and forever waging their long war from the hell beyond the stars. The treachery echoes, the legacy bleeds, and the darkness is never truly banished. Okay, imagine standing in the dust of a shattered forged city. Listen, Forbidden's arsenal, mechanicum schism, that division cut deeper than any blade, deeper even than the betrayal of brother primarchs. Mars fractured. We knew those red-robed adepts, their clanking servitors, the sacred incense of the forges, the lifeblood of the crusade. But beneath the omniscience shadow, greed festered. Dark knowledge whispered, promises from entities older than stars. Kelber howled. He listened. Oh, did he listen? He cracked seals older than Terra, unleashed blueprints etched not in metal, but in screaming souls. The forges birthed horrors that walked. Not titans, not yet, but engines fused with warp spawn. Engines that breathed fire like living things, engines whose very presence made the air weep unnatural tears, chaos engines, gifted freely to Horus. These demon engines became the teeth of the traitor offensives, tearing into loyalist lines with a ferocity no mere machine could possess. Iron gave way to fleshy cables. Sacred steam hissed alongside unnatural screams. It felt wrong, like seeing metal bleed. The Titans, remember seeing the picked feeds? God machines, colossal, walking cathedrals of war, legio ignatum, the fire wasps. Such noble engines clashing on parched Martian soil against renegades like Legio Mortis. You couldn't mistake the scale. Each step echoed inside your bones miles away. Volcano cannons tore continents. The skies rained molten slag. Entire hive cities were just stomping ground beneath adamantium feet and plasmatic fire. War engines designed to conquer worlds fighting each other. It shook planets. Literally, you felt that vibration deep in your spine, a constant tremor of gods feuding. Seeing a warhound pack flanking a staggering imperator. The carnage was beyond calculation. They were walking apocalypses, turning the cradle of human technology into their slaughterhouse. And the weapons went beyond atrocity into the realm of pure damnation. Virus bombs, beautiful name, isn't it? Such a small thing blooming silently in the upper air. Then the death comes down. Not as fire, but as hunger, a devouring nothingness. Life dissolves where it touches, everything soft, everything living, reduced to viscous slime. Oceans roil with the soup of murdered billions. A planetary tomb coated in a glittering film of leftovers, then phosphex. Promethean fire, stolen sun fire, it doesn't just burn. It clings, it eats asterisk. It laughs at water, it ignores void shields. It turns air into fuel. Seeing phosphex drop on a loyalist regiment, there wasn't even time for screams, just vanishing silhouettes, a spreading, hungry radiance, and afterwards blast plains where cities stood. Horus wielded these curses not just against defenders, but against the very worlds they fought for, scorched galaxy policy, utter desolation. Psychers unleashed, the warp's fury a silence fell when Nikia was revoked, heavy, frightening. You remember the fear? The stories, why they were banned, but worse things walked the stars now. Loyal legions saw it first, demons ripping through plasteel like paper. Reality screaming in pain. What choice did the librarians have? The edict lay dead in the face of unspeakable nightmares. Seeing those cerulean warriors wielding fire, psychically warding entire corridors as war spun pressed in, it felt like a betrayal, yet necessary. Our only shield against horrors that spat in the face of physics. That silent fear was replaced by awe. And fresh terror, we needed that fire desperately. Seeing a librarian incinerate a plague demon with pure, focused mind, light, it bought moments, precious moments. Then there were Ahriman's sons, different fire, different kind of terror. Their power didn't just fight the warp, it bet it. On Terra itself, reality became their playground. Crimson figures weaving spells older than human memory, blue and white fire flickering. Theirs was prismatic, shifting, impossible geometry written in air. We saw stones scream. We saw time itself congeal around formations. leaving them trapped like statues for slaughter. We saw loyalists turned inside out or fused with the walls by a whispered word, pure, unadulterated sorcery. It wasn't battle, it was desecration. Each spell twisted something vital out of reality, leaving a stain. It felt like the very laws of existence were screaming under their touch. And Malkador, the Sigillite, the weight he carried. When the darkness pressed thickest, crushing against the Emperor's shields, you felt at first a thinning, like the last light fading, then the golden throne flared. Not just brightly, painfully, power ripped from somewhere profound, sustaining that vital shield against the tide of chaos gnawing at Terra's soul. That surge cost Malkador everything not a warrior's death, not a glorious sacrifice in the field, a slow, agonizing giving of every last drop of psychic essence, burned away to hold the line just a little longer. His final silence was louder than any thunderclap. Arcane turning points. Magnus thought he knew better his intentions. Saving Horus. Noble, they say, but hubris. Oh, hubris burned brighter than any thousand suns. That raw, screaming bolt he sent, crashing through the etheric wards. It tore the fabric of the Emperor's greatest work. Did you feel the scream not physical? A tear in the soul of the world, the webway breach. Beneath the great palace itself, demons didn't just invade. They poured forth a tsunami of raw madness into the heart of humanity. That wasn't an attack, it was defilement. The Emperor chained to the throne, holding that breach shut with sheer will. That was the turning point. Magnus didn't just wound his father. He handed the enemy the keys to the throne room and crippled our greatest defense before the siege truly began. Generations of genius shattered in an instant of arrogant folly. Every loyal life spent plugging gaping holes demons poured through, laid at Magnus's feet. Then the blade, simple name, no. The sword, but it wasn't steel. Pure, focused anathema, forged in desperate need. Honed on impossible hopes, the Emperor held it. Only he could wield that much hate for darkness turned into a weapon. You can't explain the wrongness its edge carried against creatures born of the warp. It banished them with a touch. And against Horus, against the favored son, the fallen Warmaster brimming with for God's power, that thrust didn't just wound flesh, it sundered spirit. It burned out borrowed might, leaving vulnerability where cosmic darkness had been. That sword's bite, it was the first true pain Horus knew since Davin, the necessary sacrifice the Emperor made to get that blow in. Utter shattering, but without the sword, without that impossible blade forged to cut the uncuttable. Terra was ash, and the storm's warp travel became a nightmare. Geller fields flickered, gasped, died like candles in a gale without warning. Ships, entire fleets vanished, not to battle, to madness appearing decades late, crew fused to bulkheads crewed only by echoing screams, showing up as distorted, weeping carcasses, spewing demons, loyal reinforcements choked in transit, supply lines severed like rotten string, that constant terror, never knowing if the next translation meant salvation or becoming food for gibbering horrors. It crippled us, slow attrition by a sea of screaming insanity more effectively than any fleet blockade. Technological legacies after the burning, after the blood dried. New nightmares emerge for a new dark age, the Grey Knights, born in the shadow of Malkador's sacrifice, built from the ashes of failure. Think about them, recruited from the Imperium's finest, psychically potent, their very gene seed engineered, purify, crafted as a scalpel specifically for chaos, weapons inscribed with true names, minds trained to be fortresses, humanity's final hope against a tide they barely held back at Terra, Steel's angels forged in the deepest darkness. Necessary, yes, but also a grim monument to how utterly corrupted our galaxy had become. They represent a terrifying future promised by the heresy, and the mechanicum, Mars, scarred forever. Orthodoxy became their armor. Progress, heresy, innovation, abomination. Every spark of genius, every potential leap, crushed under the weight of pure, raw fear. Fear of another Kelberhau, fear of another schism, fear of the very machine spirit becoming tainted. We traded potential advancement for brittle purity. We locked down knowledge tighter than any vault. We built the same tanks, the same titans, the same weapons we had then, only slower, shabbier. Because to change is to flirt with the abyss that nearly consumed us. The dark mechanicum's shadow strangles our future, but some war remains necessary, doesn't it? Void shields, the shimmering barriers holding back hell itself on warships and fortresses, tested, refined, their limits broken during the siege, that knowledge endures, dreadnoughts, noble warriors interred in armored sarcophagi, gifted a final war against oblivion themselves, waking to defend fortifications they held lifetimes ago. Siege technologies born from unimaginable need. Plasma drills, mole mines, macro-engineered RAM platforms. They became the grim tools maintaining an empire on edge. Every starship shielded, every fortress bastion, every ancient warrior fighting on past death, echoes of that conflict. Ghosts of that unimaginable struggle written into the very skeleton of how the Imperium survives. We built a cage for survival from the wreckage of hope. The weapons forged then still shape the war we fight today. Every bolt or shell fired against a cultist, every void shield flaring. It feels like fighting the same battle every single day.